Stepping up to an FX camera is a big decision. It is a big investment and it's a big day in a lot of photographers' lives when they finally decide to jump from DX to FX. Now, Canon and Nikon have both brought out what they're calling entry level to their FX range. Canon's got the 6D, Nikon's got the D600. They're both really, really nice cameras, but how do they compare to each other? Normally, I wouldn't compare two different cameras from different brands to each other because, you know, it means changing everything. But for a lot of people, especially Canon users who may be going from DX to FX and will be needing to upgrade their lenses anyway, and a lot of Nikon users who would be looking to upgrade their lenses to go to FX lenses to match the body, it is a point where some people are considering whether or not they should jump ship. So let's take a look at the different features, see if there's enough difference between them to really contemplate jumping ship, and then how they compare to each other in any case.
Well, straight off the bat, there's a lot of similarities and several differences between these two. They both record full HD video, they both have a mic input, they'll do 30 frames a second at full HD or go up to 60 frames at 1280. They both have dust reduction and an electronic level. They both have good exposure compensation, a great screen. The Canon goes up to 25,600 and then boosts to 100,000, but the Nikon only goes up to 25,600. The Canon is 4.5 frames a second, the Nikon is 5.5. Canon only has the one SD slot, whereas the Nikon has two. Canon has a 97% field of view cover, whereas the Nikon has 100. Canon's got 11 focus points and only one cross type. The Nikon has 39 focus points and 9 across type. They both are limited to 1/4000th of a second shutter speed. The Canon will sync up to 1/180th, whereas the Nikon goes up to 1/250th. They both have composite bodies. They both have reasonably good connectivity, except the Canon really steps it up a notch by including Wi-Fi and GPS, and the Wi-Fi can be used to control the camera, and it's pretty nifty. In terms of handling, they're both really good, but I personally preferred the Canon's grip and overall handling capabilities. Due in large part to Nikon's stupid double wheel at the top with separate locking mechanisms, I found it really annoying and frustrating to use. The Canon was just easier to get access to change all the different modes. That said, I didn't really find the button within a wheel on the back very user-friendly either, and I thought the plastic was a bit cheap on the back of the Canon. And you do miss the fact that the Canon doesn't have a pop-up flash. Like the D800 versus the 5D, the Canon just omits it. And whilst Canon has rightly earned itself a great reputation for video, it seems the Nikon in this case is more aimed at video users because it has a headphone out as well as mic in. The Canon doesn't have the headphone.
So in my mind, the Canon is aimed at those social recorders who want the connectivity options it offers, but full frame and excellent image quality. Whereas the Nikon is aimed at people who are looking for pro spec kind of camera, but with a slightly lower build quality. But that's just my take on it. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the image quality. So let's do some side-by-side tests on these guys.
Okay, from the outset, I have to say these cameras perform beautifully when it comes to image quality. The Canon skin tones are just lovely, but I did find that the white balance messed it up a fair bit when you were using auto white balance outdoors. It was cloudy, but then the amount of warmth in the shots just kept seeming to jump all around the place depending on what was in the background. But still, really, really nice and pleasing images. The Nikon, likewise, some really nice shots. I think that they're both performing really well. I think whatever you're coming from, you'd be satisfied with the image quality coming off these cameras. And why are all these sporty shots? Because we're also now going to check the tracking capabilities.
So to test out the tracking of these two cameras, we've come out to do a little bit of exercise. Well, you know, I'll be exercising my index finger and Tina will be running backwards and forwards whilst we see how they can track her. So I'll just take a seat. It's a bit cool here actually doing nothing. Do you want to just run back and forward whilst I talk this through? Yeah, just run. So more focus points and a spread out area is great for tracking, and more cross types, they tend to be more sensitive. So I'll be interested to see how these go. They're both set to continuous burst and tracking mode. And let's see if we can't shoot us an emu. You can go faster than that, I reckon.
I can.
No, I mean the camera. That was really impressive for you. Oh, one thing I noticed there, the buffer ran out quite quickly.
I switched to JPEG for the next burst.
So let's take a look there. How did the Canon do with this absolute speed demon?
Now, I don't want to be a hater, this isn't a sports camera, but it did have trouble tracking. With so few points, I had to make sure that she was in the middle of the frame to be catching her on one of the focus points. Once she got to the edge, it missed her. And occasionally, I'd get some that were just beautifully crisp and sharp, but then others just inexplicably in between shots were way off. So, bit of a shame. Then I got her to run straight at the camera so we could check how it tracks moving forward. And I'd say it did about as well. So, you know, she was right in the center of frame for each of those. It did seem to pull focus reasonably well, but once she got up close, it seemed to have a little bit of trouble still to grab her.
Okay, now time for the Nikon to see what it can do. When you're ready. Well, I can certainly notice we're getting more shots in with the Nikon, which is nice. With that faster frame rate. Or maybe she's just slowed down a little bit. Go good. Certainly seems to track better on this guy.
Yeah, even through the viewfinder and looking on the back of the screen, I could tell I was getting more in sharp focus. The little dot was traveling with her and staying really closely on her. I found it was choosing the skin tone. Obviously, that's an area of good contrast to the background, but it did seem to be tracking her quite well.
Do some run straight at me. Yeah. Ah!
On this series, I only got 1 or 2 out of focus. The rest were right on, and you can see it was tracking her chest skin area. On this last close-up even, it's still dead on focus. That said, if you're not shooting sports, you're doing portraits or other slow-moving subjects, then they both produce beautiful results. The Nikon is great, but so too are the Canon results. I really think you'll be satisfied with the image quality of either one. You just need to think about what other performance you require.
So look, they're both aimed at different markets, but also not really. And it's a difficult choice, but also not really. Forgetting about whether you're invested in one of the different brands or not, there's enough to separate these two out that makes you determine which one you should be getting. If you want the social options that the Canon comes with and excellent video, then this is the one for you. Built-in Wi-Fi and GPS and excellent video quality. But if you must have 2 SD cards, if you really want an external headphone port and you want a built-in pop-up flash, then the Nikon is the obvious standout. They're both excellent image quality, they're both excellent handling, and I think, you know, they're both a really nice stepping stone into the FX market. So you need to just look at those 2 different spec sheets and work out what's really a priority to you, and that should make your decision fairly easy. Hope that helps, guys. Leave me any questions or comments. Please click to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon for more photo news and reviews.
Hey, you can also check out my full hands-on review of the D600 on its own. There's the Canon 6D full review. There's a video on my Take Control of the Light workshop tour. And finally, a video on storytelling photography with Tina.
Does it look like she knows what she's doing? I don't think so. Just pretend like I'm stretching. Oh, I'm all stretched out now. I like the way your arms go when you're running.
Shut up.
No, just look when you do it on miniature mode. Yes, it looks like your arms are powering you up the hill.